Next caller.
It's crazy that we sit here and we talk.
Audra, could you please begin by stating your name for the record?
How much? Hello?
Yes, if you could please begin by stating your name for the record.
Your name. My person uses the name Audra. Are we good? Hello?
You may proceed.
Anyway. Okay, thanks. And you probably took up all my time. So as we're talking about the airport, you guys are sitting here and allowing human trafficking to go on in the airport and, continuing to do leases with them. But you're also, engaging with all of these other entities that are facilitating it. And they don't even need an ID to go through security, right? And it's like, but we do. I mean, if we have to cross the border, we need ID. Otherwise, what are we going to do? We're not going to be able to cross, right? If we want to travel, we have to have an ID of some sort. But these people have concierge service. So they get to go from the hotels after they are released from Border Patrol, being, criminals, many of them. And then they just get great service, right? They get all this food. They get travel to the airport on charter buses. How fun is that? It's like, that's so exciting. And then they actually get concierge service to go through the process of going through the gate and security. I mean, how nice is that, right? When we're really trying to facilitate human trafficking, it works so good. I mean, people are really good at, making this happen because, why not, right? We're going to have our total nation destroyed. And it's like, who cares if these children go missing? What matter is that, right? They're just going to be used and abused, and it's good. Because otherwise you'd want to abort them, right? Just give them, maybe they could take that pill you were talking about yesterday and just, abort themselves. I don't know. Because you guys don't seem to care about humanity in any way. You don't care about the county, the fact that you're facilitating all of this, and people are being murdered by these people that are coming across. But as long as it's not your family, right, then it doesn't matter. But then when it is, then it will matter, right? Which is so crazy because everything is upside down and inside out. And everything you guys have on your stupid consent calendar, it's crazy the way that you work and act like.
So, Audra, just a reminder that you need to stay on topic. So this is your first warning. You were off topic the whole time. So please remember. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors, Chair Vargas. I called in today to support consent items 1, 3, and 4, and I appreciate the county's, Ann Riddle speaking. I support the county's actions on all things that improve our roads. Not only is it important for safety, the obvious reason, but it certainly makes us look like a more gracious county that cares about how we present ourselves and that we like our areas to be safe and clean. I wish you could do something about the roads in and out of the airport downtown San Diego. I suppose that's out of your purview, but my gosh, it's an embarrassment when we come and go every week to pick up people. That said, regarding the safety of our roads and transportation, I was startled by this leading title on an article yesterday, and it goes, marijuana is killing a lot of people. Not slowly, although some studies suggest that, but quickly in car crashes. And it goes on to say that marijuana use has increased the number of marijuana-impaired driving fatalities. We know that accidents are up, but they've absorbed more of the vehicle fatalities happening around our county. And one of the reasons why they suggest is because studies say that if they ask a person impaired by marijuana if they realized it, they always say, oh, no, they weren't impaired. And yet everything about their behavior and the test at the roadside suggests that they are. This, unfortunately, reminds me of the old alcohol company campaign, know when to say when, implying that somebody who's under the influence of alcohol would know that they were under the influence of alcohol. We need to fully appreciate what it means to be impaired and what a danger it is when people marijuana.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next caller.
Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead and if you could state your name and then begin your comments.
Okay, got it. Okay, so Consuelo, and I am speaking on all of them. And I just wanted to also address what Jim had to say, remind the people that they actually don't need government in their business, period. You can operate your business and use a private trust. So keep your business and private. Let's remind the people of that, okay, Jim? What else? Let's see. Doctors are actually, I think, number 2 or 3 of killers. I like how the poor plant is being vilified all the time, but I get that there are people that don't, I know that they don't make the beautiful plant the way they used to, and so it's being laced, and it's kind of, yeah. What else was I going to say? Waste. Addressing waste. How about, this is for the county. I wanted to just suggest, I want to demand that you all, for the reserve signs that you guys print out every meeting for these seats, and then they're just like, a waste of paper always on the floors at the end of the meetings. So sad. Talk about being wasteful. You guys can just have those allotted number printed, laminated, and just use them and then take them out for every meeting. It's like, come on. What else? I know these are petty things, but they're real, and I just want to call you guys out on your hypocrisy. That's it.
Thank you. And Chairman Vargas, that concludes public comment on the items on the consent calendar.
With that, we're going to be voting on items number 1 through 11, minus 10, and FL1. So with that, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Chairman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
Thank you. Item number 10, I'll turn it over to you, Supervisor, and then we'll open up for public comment.
I just have some questions. I think on this item, and I did receive correspondence actually this morning, so it's not my regular practice, right, to pull based on that. But the correspondence did mention a board letter from last year when I wasn't here, and I just want to make sure that what we are doing in this item is consistent with what this board has previously passed. I have been consistent in asking those questions around ARPA funding. Yesterday, we approved a waiver of A-87, which that's not what we're doing here today, but it's similar around procurement. So I just want to be sure. I'm familiar with A-87 Section D, which talks about single source and what the qualifications are under a single source contract. So I wanted to get on the record why this would be a single source contract, especially considering the previous board letter and all of our decarbonization efforts.
Supervisor Montgomery Stepp, through the chairwoman, if I could speak to this, and we have Eden Bruckman, our director of the Office of Sustainability and Environmental Justice, who can also address this. In this particular case, we did start off with the intent to proceed with competitive solicitation. However, after speaking with experts in the field, looking for resources that are comparable to what the board directed, we quickly found, and Ms. Bruckman can speak to that, we quickly found that this government entity that we are proposing to sole source contract with does have proprietary modeling technology, specific abilities to obtain information and data, and extensive experience in this field that is not that no other private entities do have. And so we worked very closely with the Department of Purchasing and Contracting to use that very limited sole source authority to proceed in that direction. Ms. Bruckman can answer any other specific questions.
Okay, thank you for that. I would like to include in this study the impact or how we can use this industry to support our small businesses that are entering into this industry. Oftentimes when we talk about impact on communities, we do talk about the pricing of energy, which is extremely important, but there's also an entire industry that can often be closed off. So I want to make sure that that is a focus of what we're talking about here. Really, that was my only, and if we can just specifically, when we go through this process, in Section D, it has like 6 different reasons why single source is allowed, or what specific reasonings were used for this, based off of the policy, specific to the policy. I understand and agree with the explanation, but specific to the policy, what exception in the policy did we use?
Thank you, Supervisor Montgomery. Step through the chair. We approached this originally looking at what would be the most beneficial process for this, starting as Davia Lynch mentioned, talking with experts throughout the field and learning through them that the only organization that they had heard to do any such type study and using a similar approach was NREL, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, who had pursued a study called LA 100 a few years ago. And that took equal processes for both technical and scientific basis, as well as a very deep focus on equity. They also published 100 equity strategies in parallel, looking from individuals, businesses, commercial, et cetera. So as we worked with the Department of Purchasing and Contracting, as well as NREL's contracted authority, the Alliance for Sustainable Energy, what became clear was the single source approach would be most valuable to this process.
Supervisor, if I may, thank you. With respect to your very specific question, the specific clauses that were referenced are D1 and D3 regarding, respectively, unique patents and unique skill and ability. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Dr.
Okay, thank you so much. That does conclude my questions for now.
We're going to go ahead and open up public comment. Oh, sorry, sir. Go ahead.
We can do public comment. I can go now if that's okay. Okay, we did get a letter.
I wanted to have her speak because she
she pulled
the
it?
item.
Okay, that's
But I
fine.
wanted to give the public an opportunity to speak and then have the
That's fine.
discussion. Okay, all right, go ahead.
I'll refine them and make them better.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 6 total requests to speak, 2 individuals in person, and 4 requesting to speak by phone. Also like to note for the record, we did receive 1 e-comment on this item, which was in opposition. For any of the members that requested to speak on this item by phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers, and I'd like to invite forward Lori, I believe it's Saldana, and Christina Marquez. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board, and if you could please begin by stating your name for the record.
Thank you. Good morning. It's Lori Saldana, and I appreciate that there is definitely expertise in the agency that you have sought a sole source contract. We're not disputing that, and I represent the foundation, Protect Our Communities Foundation. We do public interest litigation on behalf of ratepayers in San Diego, and we seek to ensure that ratepayers' voices are heard. And under this sole solicitation, it's not made clear if there will be any hearings. I am familiar with the report that was referenced in Los Angeles. They did extensive outreach. They had dozens of community meetings. I would welcome that type of a process with this. But we are actually currently in litigation with the county because of the lack of sufficient public outreach over the original plan, in part. That's one of the reasons. It did happen during COVID. We understand there were constraints on how much public outreach was available at that time. But I have submitted documents if you have a chance to take a look at it. Specifically, what we're concerned about, again, is that sole solicitation originally was the reason we wound up in litigation. We wanted to see this open to a broader audience to consider reviews of this plan. Additionally, as I said, we want to make sure that all stakeholders, including traditionally and historically disadvantaged businesses, are able to weigh in and have their concerns heard. We are seeing in the Climate Action Plan, and I was a colleague of Joel Anderson's, actually before he and I were colleagues, the state legislature did pass the nation's first Greenhouse Reduction Act bill. And many of the Climate Action Plan strategies that we're seeing now around California are the result of that. So I want to make sure that we continue going forward, we reach those goals in a timely manner, and we do that with good stakeholder and community input. So for all those reasons, I ask that you not approve this today. Thank you.
Good morning. Christina Marquez speaking on behalf of IBEW Local 569 and its 3,700 power professionals and union electricians in San Diego and Imperial counties. First off, it's nice to see a full board. Thank you and welcome, Monica Montgomery-Stepp. We are happy to see there's movement forward to do this study and find best solutions for rooftop solar, infill solar, and battery energy storage for low-income, vulnerable, got it, and environmental justice communities impacted disproportionately, I can't talk today. I think I need more coffee. Anyways, we want to help those who don't have a voice. You know, like Monica was saying, you know, the small businesses, the people in the communities that don't have the money, that can't afford these things. We need to do these studies and we need to do it right. And our union is a longtime proponent of a clean energy future, locally and statewide, and we want to make sure it's done by 2035 like we've committed ourselves to do so, as long as it's intertwined with good paying, high road, high wage jobs. Excellent training, including joint labor management training, and ensuring that we use C10 electrical contractors that are hiring certified state-certified general electricians. This is really important right now. There's a lot of people that want to do our work. We need to make sure that electricians are doing this work that have been trained on it for years. Electricity will kill, and it needs to have people that have been trained on this, that go through a 4- and 5-year apprenticeship, not just a 3-month class. We need to make sure it's done right, and you guys are the ones who can help do that by making sure that policies are there to ensure it's seen through. But we also need to help out the lower income. So thank you.
Thank you so much. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I'd like to remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we'll begin with our first caller.
Hey, Truth, Monica, I appreciate your questioning of all these sole source contracts. Really, every item that has one should provide an explanation by default, you would think, but nah, not how it works. A 4.5-year, $1.1 million monopoly contract for studies done by the federal government's Department of Energy's National Renewable Energy Laboratory friend, or cohort, and I hope that word doesn't bring out Bergman. We don't need to hear any more nonsense. Anyways, their friend, the Alliance for Sustainable Energy, LLC, we're going to tell the county they should put toxic combustible lithium infrastructure and batteries everywhere. The Alliance for Sustainable Energy is managed by Battelle and MRI Global. MRI Global makes RNA vaccines, biolaboratories, and are involved in global health surveillance. Battelle says the research was the foundation for program development and public policy for the lying CDC. So this item claims there should be unbiased research, development, and analysis. How's that going to happen with these types of entities whose research seems to have led to absolute disaster the last 4 years? Battelle also pushes connected autonomous vehicles with data capture. And they are creating neurotechnology, or so they claim. I don't see proof. But we really don't need an energy supply study to know the effects of infill electric energy everywhere. We know non-recyclable solar panels will be shoved next to government projects in low-income neighborhoods, and the rates of electricity are only going up. We also know that no matter where those panels would be, that energy would be redistributed to wherever government wants it to go. And this item claims science-based pathways to reach zero carbon emissions. Well, science says we are carbon and trees need carbon.
Source of energy in the U.S. The panel.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
I don't know what you guys are talking about, sustainable energy, and you should never be doing sole source procurements no matter what. I don't care what your excuses are, and to even try and think about using ARPA funding for this is rather ridiculous. You're never going to go to zero carbon unless we're all dead. And, you know, everything that you're doing when you're trying to decarb, all of the infrastructure and solar and lithium, you need gas and oil in order to extract it from the earth. And those things will never save as much, energy as you think. They create more than they'll ever save in their lifetime. And they're lithium bombs. They're literally something where it's going to, affect the people in the long run, not only through radiation and different things. It is, I'm on two different meetings. This is ridiculous, but it's sad to think that you can sit here and lie and act like you're using science. And I mean, you even think that, trees absorb oxygen. It's ridiculous. They actually recycle carbon and create oxygen. But instead, you want to lie to the people to push them into a fear-based reality so that they believe that we have to save the planet when everything that you're doing is actually destroying it. You don't even care about kids, mining for lithium. That's a funny thing. And I was on topic before, Nora. You just don't like what I had to say. The truth hurts, but it's true. What's happening. And there are children that are mining for lithium that we're using. And it's like, you don't ever think about that kind of stuff. It's like you just want to kind of push your agenda because that's the whole point of your job, and so that you can be puppeted around to do nefarious things. But if you were, truthful with the people, you wouldn't be lying to them and saying, like, all the things that are destroying the planet are actually saving it. You would do things that were, conducive to the environment and, not endangering people's health because everything that we're doing.
Thank you. Can you please state your name for the record?
The person uses the name Audra.
Thank you.
All the bold. After the COVID debacle, with its data suppression and misinformation campaigns, lies, distortions, groundless mandates, and on, I don't know how you have the nerve to enter into a single source contract with the contracting authority for the U.S. Department of Energy's National Renewable Energy Lab. It looks like you're unnecessarily politicizing the energy supply, and it is a terrible idea to lock yourself into a single source contract, especially with people who are related to the CDC. As for Audra speaking on topic, Nora, if you weren't looking at your computer screen or whatever, you'd have heard her first sentence was that she was right on topic, so maybe you should just resign. Thank you.
And Chairman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
All right, Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. We did receive this letter here from Protect Our Communities Foundation that Ms. Saldana had referenced. And I guess the three main things out of there were basically the sole source item or initiative. So, Inga, do you have any input on that as far as are we can use this entity as a sole source?
Yes, Supervisor Desmond, the board, when it's acting to authorize sole source negotiations and contracting, is bound by Board Policy A87, and that was followed here. It allows sole source when there is unique knowledge and ability or skill set or proprietary information, and all of that is present here with this contractor. Some of that's documented in the letter. What happens today is that the board is just authorizing the negotiation process, and then once the scope of work is fully fleshed out and detailed through a public process, we'll make sure to do all of that, then it will return to the appropriate decision maker.
Okay, thank you. One of the other comments that the project should provide stakeholder feedback and responses. So you said during the process of in the negotiations, we're all going to be accepting public input on that at that time?
I don't want to make that promise. I don't know that that's required under the sole source negotiation.
In the negotiations? Okay, well then I guess.
But we can figure that out if board wants to.
Well, if that's, I don't want to muddy those waters if that's not the protocol for that. But I do think that when the study is being done, that we ask NREL to get stakeholder feedback and responses. And so that stakeholders can get, have their say as well as they're going through this study. And the other thing that I gleaned out of the letter was that the study included a statement of work. Originally, I brought this forward primarily because of the concerns I had gotten from the unincorporated areas. And the unincorporated areas unfortunately felt like a dumping ground for all of the solar panels and renewable energies and things like that. We're taking on that burden, but weren't really benefiting from it. And it's primarily from a study that was done prior by UCSD, which is more of a much broader study that didn't really look down at the basics and see what we had here within San Diego County and on our rooftops already. So this NREL, that's how you pronounce it, they've actually done work here in San Diego County. They've worked for the Port of San Diego, the San Diego Airport itself. Also, they've worked at the Marine Corps Air Station Miramar in San Diego and developed a microgrid, which is powered by solar, landfill gas, natural gas, and diesel fuel. So they're not new to the area. They've done some work here. But my intention when I brought this board letter forward was that we look at the infill areas, not just the other side of the mountain for energy, but if there's energy here to be used or created and used on this side of the where the urban area is. So I think this scope of work is stated here well in the agenda item where it says, the energy supply study will analyze existing and potential capacity for residential, commercial, and other infill meaning the urban areas here, renewable energy and battery storage infrastructure throughout the region and per the supervisorial districts. So I think that the intent is there, and that's the work plan that we look here. We agree the desert areas and some of those may be beneficial places for some of the energy to come from, but it shouldn't be the only place where it comes from. So that's the real reason for doing this study and why I brought it forward. And the unincorporated areas have a point that hey, Hamoa, I know, it takes a lot of solar panels and big projects out there, and they're not benefiting from it. Borrego is kind of in the same boat. Unfortunately, also get the sexually violent predators all get put out there. So we've got to make sure that the people in the unincorporated areas are also those that are vulnerable and also in search of, I guess, the environmental justice as well. So we got to make sure that we're all have skin in the game here with this. So with that, I'm happy with the sole source. The company seems to have a good reputation. It is looking at the infill projects on this side of the mountains, and I'd like to make a motion to approve item 10.
All right, Supervisor Anderson.
I have a couple questions. I went through this, and Supervisor Desmond made a lot of points that I was deeply concerned about. But when I read through it, it said adoption of distribution, solar, wind, geothermal energy production paired with storage by region and sector through 2050. Is there a reason why we wouldn't look at biofuels as well? Because we know that biofuel production in the inner city sometimes is difficult.
Thank you, Supervisor Anderson, for the question. Through the chairwoman, Eden, I'm going to turn that question to you, please, regarding whether we will be looking at biofuels or have the opportunity to add that to this study.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. We do have an opportunity to talk with NREL about the scope and include an exploration of biofuels. The proprietary software that's called DGen, or the Distributed Generation Market Demand, is a tool that they've created to forecast the adoption of those types of infill systems. So solar, wind, and geothermal energy are the predominant systems included in that tool currently. They do have over 550 patents that look at a whole range of renewable energy strategies, and have offered to be able to customize based on our needs. So we can certainly explore biofuels.
And then when I was looking at this, if I read it correctly, we're going with 1 year with 3 single-year options to move forward. The way I read it is it's automatic. And I'd really like for it to come back to the board every time we go to extend it so that we get an update on where we are and what we're looking at. You know, this is, excuse the pun, it's very fluid. And things change a lot, new technologies, new things. And to think that we could be 3 years down the road or 3 adjustments down the road and miss something, I just would feel better if we were able to look at that. So if the motion maker would be willing to accept a friendly amendment to bring this back every time we do an extension, I'd like to have that if possible.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to second that. And then finally, I share the same concerns as my colleague from the 5th District. We've received a lot of concern in my district over battery storage. Many of the areas that have been proposed are in high fire risk areas. And you can't turn on YouTube without a battery, lithium battery or other battery, starting a fire. And I'm not a scientist. I'm not a researcher. I count on data to direct us. I just want to make sure that in this study, that as we're looking at it, we're taking into consideration the risk of wildfire, and that we're also taking in consideration if we went to more rooftop, whether that rooftop would be a safer venue. I just want to make sure safety is part of the matrix that we're looking at moving forward. Those are my concerns, and I appreciate the team for all the work they're putting together, and thank you. And so, Madam Chair, I think we have a motion and a second. I think it's all good, but if it isn't, do I need to do anything? Okay, thank you.
I just want to real quick explain the distinction in my mind with regard to the single source, sole source conversation. This entity that we're proposing to go with has unique knowledge. They have proprietary information. And so in my mind, that's different from just having the experience, right? The experience, you still have to put out an RFP for the entire world to see if it's a matter of experience. If it's unique knowledge, only folks in the field that have what they have collectively, that is, in my mind, justifies a single source. And that's what I'm hearing today, and that's why I'm supportive, because it sounds like, and there's enough in the record to support that. So I just want to make sure that's clear. Like, I appreciate, the other studies and everything, but it's the fact that they have the unique knowledge and proprietary information, I think, that we will benefit from and move forward in our efforts. So thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present, voting aye.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the notice public hearing, Hillside Meadows Open Space Vacation and addendum to previously adopted environmental impact report. Let's go ahead and turn it over to the public first.
Thank you, Chairman Vargas. We have 4 total requests to speak on this item, all coming via phone. I'd also like to note for the record, we did receive 1 e-comment on this item, which was in favor. For any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to, and we'll give you a moment to do so. We will now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We'll begin with our first caller.
It's truth. I love having discussions about vacations. Makes me think about taking a vacation away from these horrible meetings. The city that's based like properties is trying to vacate some land so they and the Lakeside Investment Company can build the Hillside Meadows project in Lakeside. The Gleick family sent their applicant, Randy Lang, to work on it on their behalf. This might be the biggest infill area I've ever heard without stack attacks, so I have no issue with it. Who wants ugly and expensive tiny box units when you can have a beautiful single-family home, hopefully with land? But even if the land's not much, there will be a park and a 20-foot trail. I'm curious if the two industrial lots will be factories or businesses or both. Apparently, Hilliker Egg Ranch has no objections because they're getting a few $100,000 concrete floors out of the deal made between Lakeside Investment Company and Delaware-based LECO 2 and LECO 3, both under Randy Lang's name. Why did he start two other LPs? If here the Gleick have got that much money, then maybe Frank Hilliker should have asked for more. Maybe the chicks would have liked more heat lamps instead of cold concrete in their chicken houses. Maybe they would have even enjoyed some music. I found one must always ask for more and try to insert fun in every crevice of life possible. Otherwise, people may ask for more vacations instead. So that means hurry up and approve like $10,700 easement so we can have 142 single-family homes for people to live in. Although even if somebody here crazily doesn't want real homes built, there's still going to be 133 homes, and that still beats stack and tax. Actually, these future residents are even more lucky because they won't have to buy $7, maybe $17 eggs. They'll be able to walk over to Hilliker's egg farm and get fresh eggs anytime they want. Excellent, and I am excited for this project, and I'm going to quit yoking around before anyone cracks up. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Lola Bold. Unlike the El Capitan County Preserve, where you want to spend or maybe have spent $453,000 for 775 acres, about $6,000 per acre, plus $129,000 per year. Hillside Meadows, by contrast, is a good idea, a great deal. $10,700 to vacate 37 acres. It works out to about $289 an acre. Now we're thinking. Don't know why we have to wait until April, and I hope that any housing on the site will be 3D, shipping container, or manufactured so that the potential tenants can move in sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Thank you.
Are you there? Are you done?
Thank you.
That's it. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll go to our next caller.
The person uses the name Audra. It's interesting whenever you're just like bringing in all your vehicle mile, all your studies to do all these things to, it actually makes all these projects take a lot longer. But, anything we can do to provide housing for people is a must. But the sad thing is that we don't do it in a rapid manner. It's like that moves at a snail's pace. It's something that we can't even provide affordable housing for people. And this doesn't, seem to be including any of that. But the non-affordable housing seems to go up lickety-split, which is really sad because we need more affordable housing. And even when you call it affordable, it isn't. But it's a wonder, if this project is actually going to, bring homes to people. And the hope is that it does. But it's sad that it costs so much money just to provide these homes, but part of that is your guys' fault because of all of the processes you make these people go through in order to just build properties. And in the end, it's like you want to take it from us anyway. So you sit here up on a high horse and act like, we're providing all this stuff, but then on the other hand, you'll also take it back from people if they don't pay their taxes, right? And then you can do a land grab. So it's just funny to see that there's like, such a yin and yang kind of thing with you guys where it's like on one hand you want to, virtue signal and act like you're doing some really great things, but in reality, what you're doing is the total and complete opposite of that. And, so, hopefully this can provide homes for people because it's really important and people are leaving at, astronomical rates in the county because of a lot of the, things that are going on. But, hopefully it's something that you're not going to, sit here and make empty promises and whatnot for the people. But, this open space doesn't even need to happen for it.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Oh, sorry.
We need a motion.
Oh, we don't have a
I'll move
motion?
approval.
Motion?
Second.
Just look at you. Motion and a second. Please vote.
And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present voting aye.
All right. The next item on the agenda is closed session public comment. Can you please go ahead and call the speakers?
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 5 total requests to speak, all come in via phone again. For any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item by phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to, and we'll give you a moment to do so. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we'll begin with our first caller.
My personal user name, Audra. All 4 of these items, don't have any information. That's why it would be nice if, you guys could provide just a little bit of information to the people to be more transparent. The city of San Diego, they do just a little bit so that there's kind of a description so that the people can see. But it's just a bunch of anticipated litigation and then, existing litigation for your workers' compensation appeals board. And then, your CAO employment. But when when we're talking about anticipated litigation, that could mean many, many things, right? Again, we have an invasion on our border, so I'm wondering if, when something happens elsewhere from this, from these people being, facilitated and trafficked through our border and through our airport, through all of these things, are you facing litigation for that? Is it fraud, waste, and abuse from all the things that you guys are doing, making promises to the people and you don't really, follow through? Is it, just the fact that you guys are engaging in treason, engaged with the UN and pushing all of their sustainability goals to enslave the people? Man, it's so many things. Just the fact that you guys waste our money, that, even with Sandag, look what's happening with Sandag, and that's trying to be hidden by you, Nora. So, is that litigation here coming after you for doing those kinds of things and trying to brush everything under the rug? Gosh, it's like there's a plethora of things that this could be, right? But why tell the people about it? Because that would be stupid. Then you would be transparent, and they can't know what you're doing. Oh, my gosh, we have to brush it under the rug and pretend like nothing to see here. But, yeah, hopefully it's about the human trafficking and the missing children that have, disappeared from the convention center. It's crazy. Nobody cares about that. Nobody gives 2 craps about where the kids went. It's crazy.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next caller.
I just wanted to correct myself, Consuelo, for my last comment regarding the number one killer of people. That would be government is number one killer of people, followed by big pharma and doctors. So my bad. And as I say, yeah, let's vilify a beautiful plant that's grown on this beautiful earth. What else did I want? Oh, climate change. I wanted to also, I just don't understand how people can talk about the climate and forget to, mention, they fail to mention about the geoengineering that is happening above us all. You just got to look up. Don't be deniers. Let's see. And people, somebody was talking about how they're the voice of the people. People do have a voice. And instead of being their representative of the people, how about empowering them to speak up for themselves, on behalf of themselves? Stop trying to represent people. How about empowering the people and letting them know that they, in fact, do have the power? And, yeah, it's just a matter of time when these people on the dais will be useless. I mean, no offense, but you guys already are useless. That's all I got.
Well, thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
It's truth cases A and B are more anticipated litigation. And I'm curious if either of these are a follow-up case involving Denise Garcia, who moved on up to chief by a national affairs officer, just coincidentally, after that last litigation alleging she said racist things. And just coincidentally in a new role where she's more likely to feel comfortable with people who most likely look like herself. I don't really believe in coincidences myself. KC's existing litigation, AM versus the County of San Diego, something to do with the Workers' Compensation Appeals Board. I can almost smell the purple shirt in this case. And case D is again about picking a new chief administrative officer. Apparently, Sarah isn't radical enough for these supervisors. And Jim, I thought about personally doing this job, but the same deal is with the Sandag Audit Committee. I am not a numbers person. I even hate budgets. I think I'm going to have to stick to that possible future goal of District 1 supervisor, because I do enjoy legitimately disrupting the status quo versus just talking about it like Joel. And here's why I want a CAO without a history of political activity. Because instead of people making decisions in the best interest of their country in line with the Constitution for the United States of America, people are making decisions on behalf of a political party's wishes. They're more concerned not with riots or doing the right thing, but with big money from lobbyists and moving up the political ladder. A future CEO or anyone in government belonging to a political party inherently has a conflict of interest against the country. And so it may be in the best interest of the country to ban political parties, something to consider. And for a new CAO, I end on this wisdom from Frank Herbert, quote, "All governments suffer a recurring problem. Power attracts pathological personalities. It's not that power corrupts, but that it's magnetic to the corruptible. They are quickly addicted," end quote. And so I'm going to assume non-agenda is next, because I thought it was going to be this one. And apparently closed session came before non-agenda.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Paul Gold. What I'm looking for in the CAO, apart from someone who's non-political, excuse me, I would like the new CAO to fulfill her consent calendar assembly duties by putting proper items on consent. The rules say routine items, that's a quote. I have seen lots of non-routine items being put on consent. Next, transparency. Posting documentation, slideshows, justification. I mean, the public should not go in blind. Third, screen for all legal issues. It's not really good enough to just sign off on the document without checking the Constitution on down, whether there'll be any conflict with what the people's business is. Next, I want no equity statement. If it's part of the justification, post it as such. But, I mean, half the time there's no need for an equity statement. It's just sitting there, a bunch of junk. And last, on real sustainability. And by real sustainability, that means how long the item will last, not whether it fulfills a few obscure rules or needs. Anyway, so that's what I'd be looking for in a CAO. Thanks.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is non-agenda public comment. We're going to go to non-agenda public comment, and so if you can just call the remainder of the speakers.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We still have 16 requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 11 individuals in person, and 5 requesting to speak by phone. For those that have requested to speak via phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, if you could please come forward and stand against the east wall into the murals until it is your turn to speak. You'll then have 2 minutes to address the board. I'm going to call individuals in groups of 5. Carmen Torres, Robert Gurman, Gail, Nancy Wilkins, and Kate Ione. You may come forward in any order, and you'll have 2 minutes to address the board. And if you could just please begin by stating your name for the record.
Hi, good morning. My name is Carmen Torres. I'm a voting district resident of District 1, Nora's district. I'm here to urge you to please remove all the horses and dogs owned by Deborah Barkley and Craig Netwig for allegations of animal cruelty. Previously, I attended your meeting for the first time on March 13th to share community concerns with emaciated horses and dogs on the properties, and these concerns are ongoing. Over a year ago, the local CBS News reported on an injured horse on the property and another horse trapped in the mud that sadly died. Department of Animal Services has been notified on numerous occasions by various neighbors without meaningful action to help the animals. Addressing these concerns appears beyond the Department of Animal Services capabilities. They lack the equine expertise and would benefit greatly from specialized training because they have permitted these animals to languish and die. So I urge you as county supervisors, please take the compassionate step to address concerns of neglect and inadequate care of animals on the properties owned by Deborah Barkley and Craig Netwig. To request specific coordinate with the Poway Sheriff's Department to transfer all the horses and dogs to a sanctuary, to reform the county's Department of Animal Services, hold leadership accountable, and hire the right people. Current management has failed their responsibilities by allowing these animals to remain in jeopardy. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You can go ahead and state your name for the record. We're going to start your time.
Yes. It's about water quality. Gail Dealing. Unlike the salty groundwater basin below the San Diego River in Mission Valley, the geography of Mission Gorge protects the East Basin from the brine of the Pacific. The Almonte Basin, not yet, serves an aquifer and emergency water resource. For many, this basin provides their only source of drinking water. For the last 100 years, Lakeside and Helix water districts have been utilizing their groundwater from wells in this aquifer. They blend it with water that they purchase. For Lakeside, the El Monte Basin provides 30 to 40% of their winter water supply. Next slide. Most of the parcels in the El Monte Valley are zoned agricultural or open space on large lots of over 1 acre. The The large lots allow for the septic systems and leach lines to treat and clean the wastewater using a careful balance of soil drainage capacity. Open space allows for recharge. Next slide. Willow RV parking pathways to housing solutions leads the transitional homeless to green zones. Next slide. Next slide. Surrounded by parks, ball fields, and the river and ponds. Next slide. All atop of drinking water basin. Next slide. 17 households on 1 acre without sewer. Next slide. 17 households on 1 acre on septic. Next slides. All zoned for 1 household per 2 acre minimum. Next slides. All with no environmental impact report required due to homeless emergency. Nope. Next slide. Next EIR. No EIR required due to temporary small structures, and CEQA exemption does not address the increase in septic. Next slide. The county is demolishing their existing wells on the site. This is it. And those living without shelter need pathways to get out of homelessness. These pathways should never lead to the rivers, but away from them. Water resources and rivers and basins need to be protected. Please reconsider your decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nancy Wilkins, and I am in favor of the RV park. However, I have a question on that up there on Willow Road because of the water issue, and mainly that the community was not engaged in meaningful ways and to approve this. It was approved at the meeting. And we did a survey of neighbors, and it showed that virtually none of them had been engaged in any way. The Lakeside Planning Group, the high schools, the Little Leagues, the Pony Leagues, the high school, El Capitan High School, or the Polo Grounds, none of them that are adjacent to and near this park. My concern is that we have so many young people, children, activities right in that area that completely surrounds the location for the RV park. And so I'm going to ask the county, I feel that we've been failed in the #1 goal to engage the community in terms of decision-making, and that any decision to move forward should be reassessed and made only after a hearing notice is brought out to the broader community. Thank you.
Slideshow, slide 1. The handout of 2020 lists Mr. Dennis Props, Vice President of Development, San Diego County Regional Airport Authority, as guest speaker. After his presentation, there was a question and answer session. Written question to Mr. Prouse: what about moving to Miramar? Mr. Prouse, without hesitation, we will be there in 10 years. Then added how difficult it is to build at Lindbergh. Lindbergh is only 633 acres with 1 runway. Mr. Props said, and international airports are usually 3,000 acres plus multiple runways. MCAS is 23,000 acres, which includes 2 runways, 2 railroad tracks, real train tracks, room for trolley, bus, train, and aircraft maintenance and repair facilities, trolley, bus, train service to the lobby of a convenient San Diego County Regional Airport. Combine Montgomery and Gillespie Field at Miramar, which would free up valuable any intercity land. When leaving San Diego for Sacramento, look out the window. When arriving at Sacramento, look out the window. Then compare. When walking through the lobbies, compare. Sacramento Airport layout is what San Diego needs for the future, and with the new political will San Diego could have. The last 2 slides are what to expect if we stay at Lindbergh: poor health and lawsuits. Do we have any questions? And now that I have time, Mr. Desmond, Supervisor Desmond, pilot, captain, were you a captain? Yeah, good for you. Was involved with all of this airport layout from the get-go. So he knows very well what I'm talking about. In fact, we talked about it 10 years ago at Sandag meeting. Yes, we did, right.
Would you mind stating your name for the record?
Oh, Robert Gurman.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And looking for Kate Ione? Not seeing Kate. We'll go to the next 5 speakers. Zora Fahim, Lewis, Jimmy Rosero, Mary Ann Vancio, and Samantha Prado.
How you doing? My name is Rick Elizondo. I know it says Luis there, but anyways, that's besides the point. The reason I'm here is to talk about opposing the homeless encampment, tiny homes that are proposed to be built behind my backyard, basically, right off of the 125 and Hamilton Boulevard, Hamilton Road. We deal with this problem every day for the past 20-some-odd years with the homeless people back there. We're trying to find a resolution of why they're not removed. There's posted signs saying that there's no trespassing, no loitering or such, but yet they get a pass. If it was up to me, if I would do it, I would get a ticket, I would have to pay a fine. I don't see why these people are given the exemption of having to be punished for their breaking of the law. I want to be a voice for our community because nobody told us about this tiny homes being built in our backyard. It was by chance that we saw people from CPL out there doing surveying, and my fiance went up there and asked them what was the whole purpose behind it. And we didn't hear nothing about a proposal about building these tiny homes for these homeless people. Every day we deal with them, they're out there in the backyard yelling, fighting, smoking, cooking out. It looks like they're out there camping instead of being homeless, and then they have all this trash that comes along with them. It's an eyesore, and it's costing our homes to be lost in this value because who wants to live will buy a property where you have all these homeless people out there urinating and doing their business in your backyard and no punishment. I believe that something has to be done. We have to have a voice in the construction of this homeless and tiny homes. It's our rights as citizens.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm a constituent for District 2. My name is Samantha Prado. I'm a 23-year-old animal advocate, and I'm here to be a voice and speak up for the horses and dogs abused and neglected by Deborah Barkley. Frankly, the County of Animal Services is not doing their job. Meanwhile, horses continue to die slow, painful deaths, and dogs continue to roam the streets as strays. Laws are being broken and neighbors are beyond disturbed. Madam Chair, thank you for connecting us to PSG. Thank you so much for your compassion towards animals. County of Animal Services has been investigating and it's been going nowhere. Please remove all of the horses and dogs to be sent to a sanctuary through the detectives in Poway Sheriff Station. Investigate Deborah Barkley and Craig Netwig for allegations of animal cruelty through District Attorney Summer 7, and please begin reforming the County of San Diego Department of Animal Services. The fact this has been happening for years is disgusting, and it is time to bring justice to these animals in desperate need of your help. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mary Ann Vancio. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today. I'd like to talk about regional trail planning. This is in relationship to the Sweetwater Authority's State of California grant opportunity to do some trail improvements near the Loveland Reservoir and how these trails will impact the importance of regional trail planning for both the California Riding and Hiking Trail and the Sweetwater River and Loop Trail. Sweetwater Authority's trail planning can have a significant effect on the future trail planning for the region. If you look at the county's regional trail plan and you start in Bonita, you get on the Sweetwater River and Loop Trail and you follow that alignment towards Rancho San Diego to Willow Road, to Dehesa Road, and to Sloan Canyon Road. The Sweetwater River and Loop Trail at Sloan Canyon Road will connect to the California Riding and Hiking Trail near Beaver Hollow. It continues east along Sloan Canyon Road to the Sequan Truck Trail, and until the California Riding and Hiking Trail leaves the Sequan Truck Trail and enters on the Sweetwater Authority property. The trail will then daylight at Hop Tool Road, where it crosses the road and ends up on Forest Service land. It goes north towards Rancho Palo Verde, and from there onto the Viejas Creek Truck Trail, crosses the road onto, Viejas Grade Road, north towards Descanso, and eventually to Cuyamaca State Park. From Cuyamaca State Park, it continues and it splits, goes north towards Warner Springs, Riverside County line, and then east to Anza Borrego. It is imperative that the County of San Diego be aware that Sweetwater's trail planning may affect the county's regional trail planning, and there needs to be some coordination with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jimmy Rosario, Spring Valley homeowner. I'm here to speak on behalf of the proposed homeless cabin project that's going to be located at 125 and Hamishaw Road. I'm asking to reconsider the location. I'm all for homeless assistance, but I think that particular location is not an ideal location due to its proximity to the amount of residences, homeowners with kids. I estimated on Google Earth the distance to be about 190 yards from the local school. There's plenty of other pieces of land around town where this homeless cabin project could go. I just am asking to please reconsider where it's going to go. And as far as the neighbors are concerned, we were never even informed. We all heard through the news network of this homeless encampment. But yeah, that's why I'm here. And I waited all this time to say this because it's very important that we get this project relocated somewhere else. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I missed my name earlier. My name is Kate Ione. I am a voting constituent for the Tara Lawson-Remmers District, District 3, the same district in which these atrocities are happening to innocent horses and dogs. The crime against these animals, both living and now deceased, have been going on for far too long, with no end in sight to the pain and suffering these neglected animals are experiencing 24/7. And with no laws being upheld and no prosecution of Deborah Barkley and Craig Netwig. Tara and her office have denied us a meeting, and we will keep coming here to call upon our elected officials to seize the remaining animals from these properties. These animals need love and care, and nothing less, and they belong in sanctuary. As a voting constituent, I am watching our cries for help being ignored by Tara Lawson-Remmer. I vote for representatives that show a kind heart toward people and toward animals who have no voice and are relying on humans to do the right thing. Ms. Remmer, you recently had a photo op with District Attorney Summer Steffen. Did you speak to her for when she will be removing all of these animals from Artesian Road? I am very upset about the situation, and I urge you to take immediate action. This cannot go on much longer. Thank you.
Ma'am, ma'am, someone from my office is going to be coming out to speak with you. Thank you.
And before you begin your comments, I'd like to call our last public speaker, Lori Saldana. And then just to note for our viewers and members of public in the chamber, the next video that staff is bringing up, just want to note that this is about to be, the video about to be shown may be considered graphic for some viewers. and you may begin your comments.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Zora Fahim, President of Los Angeles Alliance for Animals. I'm also a very proud District 5 voting constituent. I have a team of equine experts right now who are very concerned with what's going on Artesian Road. This video shows the conditions of the horses on Artesian Road with no adequate herd management or adequate care and attention, which is why the horses are sustaining these injuries. Madam Chair Vargas, thank you so much for connecting us to PSG and your compassion towards animals. I wanted to let you know that the County of Animal Services has been investigating, and it's been ongoing and going absolutely nowhere. They are untrained. Officers have been doing welfare checks from the road. This is absolutely unacceptable, and we urge you, supervisors, to please and respectfully put pressure on these agencies to remove all the horses to be sent to a sanctuary. Mr. Joel Anderson, you talked about a really important topic, which is disaster readiness. My question to Animal Services is, what is the operational plan for Department of Animal Services to immediately respond to a disaster? Because as of right now, it's non-existent. They're not doing any training since Lieutenant Padilla took over the training. She's not training individuals, and we have a group of very eager volunteers right now ready to help with disaster readiness, and this department is completely failing. I'm also a district leader for Humane Society of the United States, which have 10 million members worldwide. I'm coalition with Animal Defenders International, PETA, Social Compassion Legislation, in defense of animals, who have thousands of San Diego voting constituents who care so deeply about the treatment of animals in the county. We're all taxpayers, and we urge you to please hold these agencies responsible, because right now they're completely failing, and that's why we're here to urge for your help. Thank you.
Ma'am, there's a person in my office in the back. She's going to come speak with you as well. Thank you.
I want to take off my previous hat as president of the Protect Our Communities Foundation. I'm speaking now as someone who's concerned about the deaths in custody in San Diego jails. And recently, Paul Parker resigned from his position with the Law Enforcement Review Board. I think that's a terrible loss for the county. He was a very diligent and experienced investigator. And I want to encourage this board not to do what the Union Tribune suggested and use your budget process, because that's an impossible situation for you. That's not the way county government works. One elected board cannot compel another elected official to make changes to policies. But the deaths in our jails have gotten so egregious. I want to encourage you to look into putting the jails into receivership. And if you're not familiar with receiverships, it is a way that an appointed neutral party can take over supervision of the jails, conduct confidential interviews, and really determine why San Diego is one of the worst jails, if not only in the state of California, but in the entire country, when it comes to health care deficiencies, when it comes to the deaths in custody. The CLER board can continue in a parallel path, but I frankly, and I have told them this, I think they are very well-meaning, but they are just ineffective. And without Paul Parker, I think that will continue. So please consider putting them in receivership. It is something that is a necessary step. Rikers Island was faced with that. They submitted a plan, a detailed plan, and how they would make changes to reduce the deaths in custody in their facilities. But San Diego, I was the person who recommended 3 years ago the state audit. I worked with Akilah Weber's office to make that possible. We know on the day that state audit about county jails was released, Bill Gore resigned, and a resignation does not solve the problems, does not save lives. We need more actions, and I think a receivership is the way to go. Thank you.
And would you mind stating your name for the record, please?
Yes, sorry, Lori Saldana.
No problem. Thank you very much. We will now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted. You will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we'll go ahead and begin with our first caller.
It is Truth, and I will expose the abused horse story in person, hopefully next time. I think Nora's been busy with all the Sandak toll fiasco drama. Why she missed some of this meeting and yesterday. Actually, I just want to say that, seriously, that horse story is so horrible. And this was just typical county non-work. How else can I put it? Neglect, negligence, etc. All right, I'm going to get back to what I wrote. I watched the county's Public Health Champion Awards, and I had to disagree with the civic engagement and public health being linked because it seems to cause bad health to be engaged in these meetings, hence why I decided not to go today. Eric McDonald said, quote, "You, Wilma Wooten, were the face of COVID-19," end quote. So instead of the Wilma J. Wooten Awards, maybe we should call them the COVID-19 Awards, because both names are synonymous with lies. And Nora, next time you can't make the awards, get a cardboard cutout of yourself made for these people who seem desperate to get a photo with you. I also watched the county's Earth Day videos, and wannabe Captain Planet supervisors, your PR campaign videos were recorded using cameras that run off lithium batteries which cannot be recycled, and when they end up in the landfill, they repeatedly catch fire. The same applies even more to those dangerously combustible electric vehicles. But I do want to thank Monica for recording a real message showing a real place, Mount Hope Community Garden. But Jim, why were you recording on a flight path? I also watched the county's Transgender Day of Visibility video. I liked the positive poem that told a relatable story. My only issue is that there was only one story. There was no balance. And real life, someone trying to find themselves and love themselves struggles. Real visibility would mean featuring all transgender stories. That's inclusive of detransitioning and those who decided to accept themselves as they were uniquely born just right. May everyone find that inner acceptance they're looking for. It's in the heart and in the mind. You got to love yourself. And
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next caller.
My person uses the name Audra. It's really sad to hear these people come in and talk about these abused horses. And I think about, man, I wasn't trying to cry like this, the kids that are coming across the border and how we can just ignore things like that, how children can be drugged just to cross with people, individuals they don't know, how Border Patrol agents know that these children are coming unaccompanied, and they're sending them to one address. Lots of kids to one address. And so we're trafficking these kids. And, I just think about how it's like, how do we not acknowledge these things? And it's like we need to stop with the cognitive dissonance and trying to be like, we don't want to look at these horses because it's too hard to handle. We don't want to look and think about these kids because maybe it's too much to take in. But that's the thing, is that we have to be real and honest, because the things that are going on are atrocious, and it's heartbreaking. The more research I do on the trafficking that's happening with these children, it's very depressing, because you guys are helping facilitate it. There are so many programs. There's nothing that's being done to stop it. There's everything that's being done to help it move quicker, faster, and have more and more and more of it. And it's really disturbing to me, because it's like, who do you go to? We're supposed to be mandated reporters, right? Like, you guys, different people, and we can talk about child abuse like yesterday, but then it's happening. You're helping facilitate it, and you won't even acknowledge it. And, these people are even given rape kits to be, migrating to our nation, so that if they get raped, they can have one of those pills that you guys give out to people.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning.
Thank you. Before you adjourn, Supervisor Desmond?
I think we need some sort of a presentation or an update on this horse ranch. I hear that staff is doing and going out there, but we're still hearing concerns from the public. So can we get a presentation? I know it's not pretty, it's going to be ugly, but an update in public, maybe at our next meeting, on what's going on, what's being done, and how we can maybe prevent this. This is not going away.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. No, I think, so my goal was to follow up. I had requested staff to follow up on this issue, and I haven't gotten a briefing back just yet. So I'm waiting for that briefing, and I'm assuming that we're going to get one as soon as we get it, so we can share it with everyone else, and go from there. And then like you said, maybe a presentation would be
Well, if
good.
we can do it at a meeting.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't think we need to do a board letter, but they can ask. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think that's great. I mean, I've been talking to lots of people and being told, no, this is happening, but it'd be good to get this all in one place. So,
yep.
Good idea. Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll move to closed session, and we'll be in closed session in about 10 minutes, and then, thank you, that's it.
The board will now recess into closed session to continue consideration of those matters listed under item 27 on yesterday's agenda. If there are any reportable actions, they will be reported out after the conclusion of closed session today.
Everybody, thanks for joining us on CBS 8 Plus. I'm Carrie Lane with your forecast. A gorgeous day again today. We are waking up to clear skies. Take a look. This is Otay Mesa facing west and absolutely beautiful. There's a little bit of haze in the distance along our coastline, but nothing to worry about. No major clouds. Plenty of sunshine from the beaches all the way into the desert, and we will see this pattern continue tomorrow. Clouds will start to move in a little bit, so you can see here some of that haze settling in some of the valleys. And we're going to see this increase as we get into Friday because we do have a storm system moving in. So high pressure system is keeping us warm through Thursday. Then we see a shift in temperatures on Friday. We're going to see cooler conditions, and we're also going to see the winds start to pick up, especially out in the desert. Friday being the biggest day as far as the winds go out in the desert communities. Showers will begin Saturday morning when you wake up. I think you're going to wake up to pretty wet conditions. We're going to have on and off showers Saturday that could linger into Sunday morning, but by the time we get into late Sunday afternoon, we should start to dry out. This high pressure system has been very kind to us in keeping us above the seasonal average over the last couple of days. This will start to make its trek east, and we have a low pressure system that will swing in from the north, and this is going to bring us some wet weather. So around 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, you can already see the green bands down in San Diego bringing us that rain. As far as how much, models not totally agreeing, but it looks like upwards of 1/4 of an inch for the coastal communities as well as the inland valleys. The mountains could get upwards of 1/2 an inch. But as this gets closer, we will be able to better track this, give you a more precise timing as well as a more accurate rain total. Then this is Sunday around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. A couple of lingering showers there, but by the time we get into the late afternoon hours, dry out and it should be absolutely beautiful. As we get into next week, temperatures will slowly start to climb. It'll take a little longer for the coastline to get warm again, but the inland valleys will start to be absolutely beautiful by the mid part of next week. Our highs along the beaches today were in the low 70s, inland valleys in the upper 70s, low 80s. El Cajon going to top out at 83 today, Alpine 78, Julian 75, and Borrego Springs in the low 90s. So another beautiful day with temperatures above the seasonal average. So this is right Thursday morning. So this is tomorrow around 8:30. You can see some of that haze lingering along the coastline in the morning once again. But it's Friday morning. As I advance this and we get into Friday, you'll see this marine layer really start to build and some green on your screen. That could bring us some moisture, just depending on how deep that marine layer gets for us in those overnight hours. But yeah, Friday morning, we're going to wake up. You're going to see a significant change. We're going to be much cooler. We're going to be in the 60s, mostly mid 60s, and that cloud coverage as well. As far as the winds, right now, everything is rather calm, but as we get into the afternoon hours, we will see things kick up into the teens, pretty much from the coastline all the way out to the desert today. And then Thursday afternoon, similar picture you can see here as well. Friday is when they really start to pick up, especially for the desert communities. So take a look. Friday around dinner time, still in the teens from the coastline all the way into the mountains, but 45 miles per hour gusts out in our desert communities. So we're going to see the winds really kick up out there. They're not expecting to get any wet weather, just the winds out of this storm. Surf forecast 2 to 3 feet. Your water temperature it's very cold, 59 degrees. Your sunset for tonight is set for 7:16. All right, your 8-day microclimate forecast. So this will show you just how beautiful the next 2 days are going to be. Along the coast, 74 today. Tomorrow, low 70s, starting to see those clouds move in. And then by the time we get into Friday, we're in the mid 60s, even low 60s by Sunday, with that chance of rain coming in Saturday morning. You can see along the coast as we get into next week, the clouds, Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, still going to be in the mid 60s. The clouds will slowly start to decrease a little bit, mix of sun and clouds though. The inland valleys were in the low 80s today and tomorrow, beautiful. And then we do drop about 10 degrees into the low 70s for Friday with those increased clouds, and then mid 60s over the weekend with the rain. As we get into Wednesday, you can see we're in the low 70s, and by Friday of next week, we should be into the mid 70s for our inland valleys. Out in the mountains, plenty of sunshine through Friday, but then we do have that storm system moving in, dropping us down into the 50s. Overnight lows going into the 30s again, and then rebounding a bit into the mid 60s for the start of next work week. The desert, absolutely gorgeous. Gosh, we are in the 90s over the next 2 days. We drop to the low 70s by Sunday with a little bit of cloud coverage, really not much. And then as we get into next week, plenty of sunshine once again, back up into the mid 80s quite quickly. So hold on to that umbrella, get your jacket handy. You're definitely going to need it this weekend, but hopefully next weekend we'll make up for it. All right, have a great rest of your day. Carlene will be in later tonight with an update.
Good evening, San Diego. I'm Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis, and thank you for tuning in for your CBS 8 Plus weather update. Cloud cover still out there, and so are some showers. So we're still seeing an active radar, but the bulk of that moisture did fall this morning and this afternoon. But we're still holding on to more of it as we go into tonight. So the heaviest is done, but still scattered showers in the forecast. Also snow still expected in our forecast through tonight, and then everything will be drying out by tomorrow morning. This is the view from our Mount Soledad cam. It's even a little shaky as wind speeds are still picking up, and we've had some gusts into the teens and 20s west of the mountains, but the strongest ones across the desert. We've had rainfall in that forecast. As mentioned, we've seen scattered showers throughout the day, and well, about 1/10 of an inch of rainfall for downtown. So not talking about anything too significant, but that does get our roads slick. So even when you see rain in the forecast, just be cautious out there. We've had more than 1/2 an inch from Miramar, as well as more than 1/4 of an inch, and that's for Santee, the same for Ramona, more than 1/2 an inch for Valley Center. And where you're seeing those little stars, that's a little wintry mix, so a combination of rain as well as some flurries that were taking place for Lake Coyamaca, and the same for Pine Valley. When it comes to snowfall, 2 inches of snowfall from Mount Laguna. More is anticipated tonight, as well as 3 inches so far for Julian and 9 inches for Palomar Mountain. And as mentioned, more expected tonight. When we look at our sweeping radar, we are seeing some showers near Santee as well as Humul, and we're going to continue to see some light to moderate rainfall on again, off again throughout the night. So if you're just kind of paying attention, you saw maybe at one point you saw some sunshine today, and then you saw some clouds rolling in, you saw rain, and then you got back to that sunshine. So just on again, off again activity expected. You're seeing a shower, and that's for Oceanside, also starting to move on shore closer towards Camp Pendleton, and really light stuff that's going to be making a beeline next 15 to 30 minutes right for Coronado. So not entirely dry for tonight, still holding on to those chances as that low does sit over us. The core of that low area of low pressure is over Nevada, but we could see that big dip in the jet stream, and so that's why that moisture is being sent in our direction. Still holding on to a chance through tonight. Everything does dry out just in time for the weekend, and well, for a lot of people, that's a good thing, especially because this would be the first dry weekend we've had in a couple of weeks. So the last weekend we were dealing with an atmospheric river, the storm system. Weekend before that, we had a storm system that was rolling in, and so now we're dealing with dry conditions for most of the weekend. So everything really kind of clearing out once we get to about daybreak by tomorrow. When it comes to our wind advisory, it's still in effect for the desert and goes all the way until 11 p.m. for tonight. We've had some pretty strong gusts in the 50s. Also to start the weekend, still some water woes out there. Small craft advisory for boats, and that's with seas building up to about 6 to 11 feet. And then large breaking waves still along our coastline. It will subside a little bit more to 3 to 5 feet by tomorrow. But before we get to that point, rain. So you're still talking about that high surf advisory all the way through noon, and that's with the large breaking waves up to about 8 feet, and still a strong risk of rip currents at our local beaches for Saturday. For the mountains, winter weather advisory keeps going until 11 p.m. for tonight, talking about 2 to 3 inches for Julian and also 4 to 6 for Palomar Mountain. Coupled with that, slippery roads out there. We had Kelly Hessedal, who was reporting from Pine Valley, and right along the 8, unfortunately, somebody's car did go into a ditch. And so slippery conditions when we're talking about winter storms moving through is something you need to be mindful of. So strong gusty winds coupled with those wet roads out there is a really bad combination. And so still along the 8 for tonight, we are seeing that moving through the mountains. And that's with the snow level coming down to about 3,000 feet. So just some cold air that is out there. And we just want to advise you to please be careful if you're going to be out there on the roadways as we continue to have wet roads in the forecast, as well as those gusty winds for tonight. When it comes to our overnight lows, widespread in those 40s. 43 degrees for Poway to start off tomorrow morning, 43 degrees for Miramar, 46 degrees for Chula Vista. This map just tells me that I'm going to hit snooze quite a bit by tomorrow. Just enjoy the warmth underneath that blanket because, yeah, we're definitely going to be dealing with a chill out there. Even some 30s, that's going to be for Julian as well as for Ramona, and then 27 degrees below freezing for Palomar Mountain. Then we get to the daytime highs. We're still going to see some passing clouds, partly sunny day for tomorrow, and then also some sunshine and some high clouds in the mix. That's going to be on Sunday. So very similar temperatures that we're expecting for Saturday and Sunday. So for tomorrow, widespread with those 60s. It's a little bit warmer than what we had today, below seasonal today when it came to our highs. We were widespread in those 50s. We're talking about the 60s for tomorrow, so a little bit more of a bump up, but just not at seasonal just yet. Upper 60s to low 70s is what's typical for this time of the year, so we're still falling short of that as we're looking at 62 degrees for Escondido, 63 for La Mesa, 61 for Del Mar. You have that slight chance that's going to be early tomorrow morning, then everything dries out by Sunday. We have some high clouds passing through, and we still are looking at this area of low pressure for Monday before we completely dry out by much of next week. And here's why. Area of low pressure, the one that's creating the wet weather now, is going to move out towards the east. We're sitting in between systems. So tomorrow, you're going to see basically the result of that low moving out. So partly sunny conditions. Then we get to about Sunday. That's when we start to see high clouds moving in, mixed in with that sunshine all ahead of our next storm system, showing that things are going to change in the forecast again. But here's the difference with this low pressure system. Do you see a lot of rain? No. It's scaling back when it comes to our chances. Just a couple days ago, it was going with chances that were above 50%, but it continues to scale back because this low looks to track a little bit more inland across the Pacific Northwest before it moves more towards the south. So as a result, a lot of that moisture gets dried out. That's why we're only dealing with a slight chance that we could see any activity on Monday, but it also would keep our temperatures in those 60s to start off the week. And then we bump those temperatures up. This area of high pressure builds in, bringing temperatures above seasonal, especially when you're talking about 80s across inland valleys, 70s right along the coast, and 90s right back in the desert. So your 8-day microclimate forecast, if you're craving a warm up, you're going to get it by next week. You got low 70s returning for the coast by Tuesday, upper 70s by Thursday of next week. Those temperatures will be coming down as we hit the weekend with an area of low pressure closing in. As far as rain, not putting raindrops on the 8-day just yet, but that could change in the next couple of days. Also looking at 60s this weekend for inland valleys, back into the 80s. That will be by the middle of the week. Those 80s keep going all the way until Friday of next week. 70s to kick off next weekend for inland valleys. You're looking at the 50s for this weekend for the mountains. If you're thinking about heading out there to go check out the snow, please be careful because roads will still be a little slippery out there and a little slick. And we do have a big warm up taking us right back into the 70s, and that will be for the mountains by Tuesday. 80 set to return by Thursday with that big ridge of high pressure. 70s turn into 90s across the desert. In the desert, those winds are going to finally calm down. By tomorrow, still a breeze, but not strong enough to continue that wind advisory. I hope you have a great weekend. Please be careful out there tonight if you're going to be out on the roadways, as we're still looking at chances for more wet weather. But hey, that's going to be a thing of a past as we go into next week. Have a good one.
Friday to you all. Thanks for joining us here on CBS 8 Plus. I'm Carrie Lane with your forecast. We have a busy day today at the weather department. We are seeing snow, rain, windy conditions, and really cold temperatures. This is Mount Laguna, and look at the snow coming down. They are expecting to get roughly up to 6 inches of snow by the time this is all said and done. Palomar Mountain could get anywhere from about 4 to 6 inches of snow. We will see this wrap up as we get into late tonight and tomorrow, and then we will see much more favorable conditions as we get into the weekend. As for our forecasted highs today along the beaches, we're only supposed to be in the mid-50s. Same for the inland valleys. Out in the mountains, upper 30s, low 40s. Even Borrego Springs at 57 degrees today. That is due to the onshore flow that is really just driving that cold air all the way out to the desert. In fact, there could be some places that actually hit a record high for cold temperatures for this time of year, so much colder than what we are typically. We do have a winter weather advisory in place for our mountains. This will expire at 11 o'clock tonight. And as you can see on your screen, Julian expecting 4 to 6 inches, Mount Laguna upwards of 6, and Palomar Mountain could get anywhere between 6 and 8 inches. Palomar Mountain already starting to see the snowfall this morning. We also do have high surf advisory in place. This will stay there until tomorrow by about lunchtime. We are expecting our waves and our surf to peak this morning, and we are expecting extreme rip currents and could see some breaking sets all the way up to 8 feet. Also a small craft advisory as well due to those winds. We could see winds anywhere from 15 to 25 knots. So going to be very breezy, very windy, especially for the mountains and deserts. Right now we're in the teens for the coastline all the way to the inland valleys. Out in the mountains about in the 20s, and Borrego Springs about 38 miles per hour. You can see it's that onshore flow pushing all that cold air out to the desert. As we get into tonight, that's when we're going to see things really kick up. In fact, from the beach all the way to the inland valleys, we're going to be in the 20s. The mountains are going to peak into the mid 30s. Borrego Springs right around the mid 40s. So very windy between the ice, the snow, the wind, dangerous conditions to be driving out in our mountains. The 8 Sunrise Highway, probably not the best bet. If you don't have to travel today in those areas, please don't. I know the kids in Julian, some of them do not have school today as a result of the snow. Tomorrow would be the more favorable day to hop in the car and maybe take the kids for a little sledding trip or to Julian to get some warm apple pie. Sunday afternoon, we'll see those winds kick up once again. And then they should start to die down as we get into Tuesday. Monday will also be pretty cool and breezy. And then we will see a difference in our temperatures as well as our weather pattern as we get into Tuesday. High pressure is going to start to build and temperatures are going to start to get back up into the mid 70s, right where probably most of you like it this time of year. As for the rainfall forecast, 8:05 this morning, Santee getting hit pretty good right now. We have some oranges and yellows on the screen, downtown San Diego all the way down through Chula Vista and extending all the way upwards to Ramona, Del Mar. So we're going to see this continue through most of the day. 11:20, you can see a little more widespread showers, a little farther east though. Ramona getting the brunt of it, and then plenty of snow. Look at Palomar Mountain all the way down through Pine Valley. Plenty of purples there on your screen. Now with these oranges and yellows, we do have a little bit of instability with this storm, and what that means is we could see occasional pop-up thunderstorms. They will be brief if we do get any thunderstorm activity. By the time we get into the dinner hour, things are going to be mostly isolated to pushing out east a little bit. We're going to start to see things dry out. These clouds are actually going to dissipate in the overnight hours, and we are going to wake up to mostly clear skies tomorrow. This is lunchtime, and temperatures, like I said, will be up mostly into the mid 60s for most parts of the county. Once this is all said and done, here's how much rain we're expecting. Roughly 1/4 of an inch and upwards to 1/2 an inch. Along the coast, a little bit less than what our inland valleys will see. The desert not really expecting to get any of this moisture. The reason we're not seeing the rain totals we saw with the last storm is we're not tapping into that atmospheric river with this low pressure system. So that last one was a 2-pack punch. We had the atmospheric river and that low pressure system really dug into the trough. So this one not doing the same, that's going to bring us a little less rain because we're not seeing those widespread showers blanket all of San Diego County and kind of continue through the day. They're going to be spotty off and on. All right, let's talk about your 8-day microclimate forecast. So we just have to get through today. And maybe the next few days if you don't like the cooler temperatures, but at least today is the last of these being in the 50s. And then we climb back into the mid 60s for the weekend with a mix of sun and clouds. That pattern will continue through Monday with some breezy conditions. There's another low pressure system that's going to move in over Monday. This one doesn't look to have any really precipitation to it, any moisture. We could get a little bit out of it, mostly out in the mountains, some sprinkles here and there, but I don't know that that's even going to really come to fruition. We'll continue to monitor it, but the closer it gets, the more it looks like that's not going to happen. And the problem is that low pressure system is going to make landfall well to the north of us. So by the time it scoots down to us, it loses that energy. So once it hits land, it loses its energy and its lust and doesn't give us as much moisture. So we'll continue to monitor that. Most likely, though, going to be just partly cloudy skies on Monday. As we get into Tuesday, I was just telling you, high pressure system is going to build. That's going to dominate our forecast, and we're going to see temperatures climb into the mid to upper 70s for the inland valleys, which will be beautiful. But get this, the desert expected to climb into the 90s by the mid part of next week due to that high pressure system. So a drastic change in temperatures going from 60 degrees in the desert to 90. That's like a 30-degree swing in a matter of just days. So just keep that umbrella handy pretty much till dinner time. Then you can put it away. And hopefully by the weekend, you won't need that like heavy winter coat like you made today between the cold conditions as well as the wind, making it very chilly out there. Be safe out on the roads. Have a great day and a great weekend. Carlene will be back later tonight to give you an update.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us here. It is now 8:30. I'm Netta Iranpour.
I'm Eric Connor. Glad you're with us on this Monday morning. A wet start to your week here. There is flood warnings, high surf warnings. We have wind advisories across San Diego. There's a lot going on in Mission Valley. The rain causing major flooding on the roadways there.
Yeah, that's where the San Diego River is now rising really rapidly, too, moving very swiftly. In fact, looking at some of the numbers with the San Diego River, it looks like it has now reached 12.19 feet.
Wow.
That's right there in the Fashion Valley Mall area. It's the 12th highest crest recorded, and it's still rising. So that's why we have a flood warning. I believe we're going to send it over to Chris Groh now, joining us live. Chris, what's the latest where you are? First of all, where are you right now?
Yeah, we actually just moved spots here. We're actually just off of Hotel Circle Drive. If you guys are familiar with this area, you got the Comfort Inn, the River Leaf Inn, so a lot of tourists, a lot of people who are not residents of this area that are staying, unfortunately, the day or maybe even longer, that have now kind of fallen victim to this right now. And so what they're doing, we did see lifeguards are here. They did have both fire rescue and ambulance that have left here. Thankfully, they didn't have to take anybody with them. But San Diego Fire, those lifeguards, those Swiftwater Rescue, that crew, they are here. And what they're telling the folks over at the River Leaf Inn is that anybody on that first floor there, they are being told optional evacuation. And you guys can see the water levels right now. You can see the people that are choosing to leave or maybe kind of switch spots. But if we just kind of pan over here to our left, you could see, again, the cars halfway submerged in that water. And in fact, as you get closer, that's the 8 freeway just over there. The closer that you get that way, the deeper the water gets. And remember, this area, this happens quite frequently, especially so close to the San Diego River, specifically just here right by these hotels. This area floods very frequently, but as Netta, you just pointed out, this is some extreme flooding that we are seeing. Again, as you pointed out there, the 12th highest total crest there of the San Diego River. So this is an area that floods a lot, but this is still abnormal here. It's something that we haven't seen in quite some time. So some folks, again, we just spoke with a father and son who came down from Beaumont. They told us, look, our car, it's in water. We're going to try to get a rental car. We're going to try to make the best of this situation. And I think that's what, thankfully, a lot of people are going to try to do. They're going to try to have that mindset of trying to make the best of this unfortunate weather and this unfortunate flooding that we're seeing right now. But thankfully, right now, what we aren't seeing is anybody that's in need of any kind of a medical emergency or needing to, again, be physically rescued from some of these waters right now. But a really tough time for a lot of these folks that are in here from out of town and probably don't have too many other places to go. So keep them in your thoughts right now as we continue to kind of cover. It's kind of this chaotic scene that's unfolding right now here in Mission Valley with the San Diego River and everything that it's kind of forcing folks to do. Eric and Netta.
Yeah, that is wild to see. The River Leaf Inn, as you see right there, not very close to the
Yeah.
San Diego River, but certainly feeling the impacts of those rising waters. We've had back-to-back storms, as you know. This one, though, certainly this past weekend being the strongest with the not just rain, but strong winds.
Yeah, the wind's knocking over trees in Pacific Beach. A tree fell early this morning, landing on cars, bringing down power lines. So yeah, power was out for many San Diegans here this morning because of this. CBS 8's Dana Marie McNichol has a closer look at that scene.
Yeah, good morning, Eric and Netta. With this tree behind me, you can see it is massive. I'm on Ingram and Fortuna Street, and it has fallen as the sun comes up. You can see completely uprooted onto power lines. There was a couple of cars underneath that. One of the cars actually moved. We spoke to the young woman who owns that car. She said no damage was done to it, thankfully, but she said she doesn't have power, along with about 2,000 people in this area. So it happened around 3:30 this morning. The winds were really high this morning. There was a lot of rain with the ground and moisture, and maybe this is an old tree. It completely uprooted and landed in the middle of the street. Now, for those down power lines, if you see any type of foliage in the streets or down trees, there might be power lines near you. So this is a reminder that they could be active on the road. So please be careful while driving. Many of them are hanging low here off of Ingram Street. The traffic is not being impacted right now, thankfully. This is just a side street that has been shut down. SDG&E is here. Police were here earlier, a fire truck that has since left, but now it's all about recovering the power lines, making sure they're back up and running, and getting this tree safely off of those power lines near this apartment complex. It also looks like a townhome here in Pacific Beach. Now, in terms of the rain and wind, that has subsided for just a bit. We haven't seen it at least in the last hour or so. Maybe we're getting a break here, which is nice for the cleanup process so people can assess the damage and move forward. Now, in terms of the wind and high surf advisory, that's going to be in place until tomorrow. On the roads, they are wet. There was a lot of pooling on the freeway as there was a lot of rain and just happening over multiple hours this morning. So if you don't have to be on those roads, hey, I say don't do it. Of course, we're going to be out here being your eyes and ears throughout the morning, bringing you the latest conditions. I'm Dana Marie McNichol for CBS 8.
A winter storm brings more scattered showers, wind, and even heavier snowfall to our mountains. Good evening. I'm Jesse Pagan, in for Marcella Lee tonight.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. A very rare blizzard warning is in effect just to our north, and the East County mountains could still get several feet of snow closer to the coast. A flood watch is in effect. Tonight we have team coverage. Meteorologist Sean Stiles here with a look at what's happening right now. Our Brian White is live in North County.
But first, let's check in with CBS 8's Regina Urita live in Julian, where we've seen a lot of snow, and it's not over yet. Regina?
Jesse, Carlo, good evening. I have to tell you, I envy where you guys are sitting right now because it's coming down pretty hard at the moment. I mean, we have been seeing this at different times throughout the day, and it's just bringing heavy snow to Julian. A lot of people are saying this is unbelievable. They haven't seen it this bad within the last 15 years. That's why we're actually seeing some businesses already closed down because they're preparing for what could be an even heavier snowfall throughout the weekend. Now, I want to show you guys actually footage of earlier today. What you're going to look at right now is a parking lot. This is covered in powder. It was pretty much just covered in snow. It's located near Main Street. Every inch of that parking lot is buried underneath that snow. Families actually stopped to take pictures, many taking advantage of the snow. I actually caught up with a City Heights resident who made the drive to Julian. She was with her furry friend earlier today. Her 2-year-old husky was turning 2 and decided to take her to the snow for the first time. Take a listen.
She loves it a lot. She's excited. She wants to run around in the snow. It's her first time. I told her I was going to take her to the snow.
With her?
Yeah, so we were on top. Like, she would pull us in the sled.
I love it. What's her name?
Cielo.
Cielo, like sky?
Yeah.
Cielo.
Because her eyes are blue.
Oh, I
Cielito.
love it. Hi, Cielo. Hi. Are you loving the snow? Come here. He's so cute. Again, it's pretty crazy out here. I'm gonna send it back here live. It's pouring pretty heavy, a lot of heavy snowfall. While we're dealing with this kind of snow, I noticed that in other areas of San Diego, well, they're dealing with widespread rain. Actually, our CBS 8 Brian White has been covering the North County. He's in Escondido right now. Brian, how is it going out there? How are you doing?
Regina, it's a little warmer over here, so we're doing a little better than you are, but we appreciate you being out there and bringing us that report on the snow out there in Julian. It's lightly sprinkling right now, but a few hours ago it was actually coming down pretty hard here in Escondido, and I got completely drenched. That's kind of how it's been throughout the county, off and on scattered showers across the county.
Pretty intense downpour, definitely coming down, cats and dogs.
Plenty of rain fell hard at times here in Escondido, making for wet roads and tough driving conditions.
The drivers are kind of sketchy. Most people don't know what they're doing, driving too fast, but if you go slow, it's fine.
It's been very windy and rainy.
Sarah Narafkin just moved to Escondido. She took a walk on her lunch break.
I walked in the rain for 10-15 minutes.
You didn't want an umbrella or something?
No, I like the rain.
Wet driving conditions on the I-5 freeway with several car accidents throughout the day, including an overturned semi north of Oceanside. It had been removed by the time I arrived, but you can see the center guardrail and fencing were completely destroyed as Caltrans workers cleaned up the debris. In Oceanside, plenty of rain soaked the ground as storm clouds moved in.
It's blustery. There have been some squalls that have come in.
People bundled up for the windy weather and tried staying dry with umbrellas.
Wet and rainy. It's gorgeous. It's interesting. The waves are wonderful.
You look like you're nice and prepared with an umbrella.
Oh, yes. I mean, I pretty much always have it on me just in case. You never know when the weather's going to turn on you.
Danielle Marhefka is visiting from Colorado. She brings some nice perspective to this stormy weather we're having.
My mom called me last week and said it was -12, so even with the rain, I'd much prefer to be here.
Meanwhile, back in Escondido, Kyle Neal isn't fazed by the rain.
This is nothing for us. A little wet, but we're going to go up to the snow.
Where?
Julian.
And there you have it, Mr. Kyle Neal from Escondido headed up to Julian to see the snow. He's taking the family up there, but it is fair to say that the driving conditions are extremely dangerous, very, very treacherous, even with snow chains on. So if you're thinking about heading up there, it's something to consider. For now, we will toss it over to CBS 8's meteorologist Sean Stiles in the studio. Sean?
Well, Brian, you try to get in and out of that rain. And Regina, hopefully they've got some warmers in the truck for you there. We're talking about some major weather moving into Southern California. I mean, take a look what the National Weather Service has issued. We've got a winter storm warning for the mountains. No kidding. We just saw Regina. Wind from the coast all the way into the mountains, down into the deserts, not at that level, but still very gusty conditions. And because the wind is coming off the ocean, they've got a gale warning in the waters of Southern California. Carlo mentioned this, a blizzard warning for the San Bernardino, San Gabriel, and Ventura, Santa Barbara mountains. This has not been issued since 1989. This storm is tremendous and big. Here's the unsettled air continuing to move through the area. The storm, though, to the north of us, up over northern California and southern Oregon, that will continue to grind down the coastline. And by this time tomorrow, will be situated over Point Conception. So we're talking about heavy rain at times throughout the day into the overnight hours, lasting into Saturday, and then finally some break in the action as we get into Sunday morning, but not before we've picked up at least an inch plus along the coastline, 2+ inches in the inland microclimates, and in the mountains down to 3,000 feet, the possibility of up to a foot of snow. Carlo?
Thanks, Sean. And remember to keep up with the latest forecast and weather alerts while you're on the go. Download the CBS 8 app from Google Play or the App Store.
Cold wind, rain, snow, and lots of it. No matter what part of the county you're in tonight, weather is top of mind for anyone who's been outside. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Kirsten Holmes. Marcella is off tonight.
And I'm Jesse Pagan. From downed trees and power lines to graupel and snow, San Diego County is seeing it all tonight.
Yep.
The CBS 8 team is spread out working for you. Regina Yurita is live in Julian, where they're expecting feet of snow to come down. Regina?
Yeah, Kirsten and Jesse, these icy temperatures are pretty brutal at this hour, especially with the gust of wind. What you're looking at right now is just we're in the middle of these snow flurries that have pretty much blanketed this entire town. Now I want you to see basically some of that slush on the ground. You can see the blanket of snow covering every inch in this town. There's also some cars covered in white powder from some of the light snowfall that came down about an hour ago. And we're definitely going to see even more because of these snow flurries. The town is empty tonight. Businesses closed early and locals went from the grocery store for essentials and straight home to bundle up. But earlier this evening, some San Diegans made the drive out here to enjoy the snow. Blankets of snow covering every part of the ground in Julian. Today's snowstorm already brought icy temperatures, snow flurries, and gusts of wind up to 60 miles per hour. For many living in the mountain town, it meant avoiding the roads and closing down businesses early. But for others, it meant making the drive to experience snowfall.
I'm from Virginia. We were in Borrego Springs, and it was lovely and sunny, and then we came over the mountain, and here we are.
This morning, roads were still clear for drivers.
It was easy coming out.
But pallets of snow covered the roads later in the evening, and strong winds caused some tree branches to move.
Pellets of snow swirling around and gusts of wind, and the road seemed to be sort of covered with stuff, but luckily we have four-wheel drive.
Heavier snowfall is expected into Saturday. According to the National Weather Service, we could be looking at 2 to nearly 4 feet of snow. Officials are warning that travel could be impossible and chains are strongly enforced for those needing to drive onto the mountain roads.
Cold, it's wet. Bring chains.
Bring chains.
Inclement weather has prompted school closures at Julian Union Elementary School District, Julian Union High School District, Mountain Empire Unified School District, and Spencer Valley School District, with potential closures following throughout the week. Now back here live, as I said, we continue to see those snow flurries just covering the roads here in Julian. We've also seen snow plows clearing up the roads for vehicles who might be heading home late. There are some road closures. So Sunrise Highway between Highway 79 and the I-8 is currently closed due to snow and ice. Of course, we could be expecting more road closures, and we will keep you updated. Right now, live in Julian, Regina Yurita for CBS 8.
All right, Regina, thank you very much. Poor girl, freezing out there, but doing...
Yes, she is. You can see the snow coming down around her. So let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis, because we got the snow, we got the wind, we got the rain. Am I missing anything?
We got it all.
Think about it.
High surf, high seas.
That's a lot.
We got more.
We got a whole lot going on, yeah. But the plus side is a lot of that's actually calming down right now, because what's not going to be a big deal is the winds as we go into the next few days. Also talking about the high surf coming down. That's going to be the case through tomorrow. So this storm system that we had last night was more of a wind and a cold weather maker. So we definitely had a drop with temperatures, starting to see that snow across the mountains, and also dealing with some less gusty winds. Now we take a look at the satellite radar over the past few hours. We've been seeing some spotty activity, but as you saw in Regina's live shot, she is dealing with some snow. So we will continue to have that in the forecast as we go into the overnight hours. Taking a closer look at the in-house model, you are looking at a chance for some scattered showers as we go overnight, even maybe some more moderate pockets of rainfall. That's around 1:10 in the morning. Also seeing that snow as we go all the way into tomorrow morning at around 7:55. Less coverage west of the mountains when it comes to some wet weather, but we could see a cell near Fallbrook. Also looking at another influx as we hit about 11:50 for tomorrow morning, and potentially even some more moderate pockets of rainfall near Del Mar as well as downtown, with more snow in the forecast. It becomes a little less in coverage as we hit about 5:55 for tomorrow, still with the snow across the mountains. A few light showers west of the mountains as we go into about 11:40 tomorrow night across North County, and then we take a little bit of a break. That's the second storm system is going to move through. And then we have the third one, and that's an atmospheric river, all in 1 week. We'll go ahead and take a look at your complete forecast coming up. Kirsten?
All right, thank you for that, Carlene. Okay, so we want to show you what those strong winds did to some of our neighborhoods. You know, no area was safe. People from Ramona down to National City, everyone felt this wind. Some viewers tell us they actually had a hard time driving because the wind would push their car all over the lanes. We also found a lot of trees that were knocked down, leaving damage. And I want you to take a look at this. This is just one tree that fell on a car in Mission Valley, and the car's owner, thankfully, they weren't hurt. The city of San Diego says it was responding to calls about snapped branches and leaning trees, all to prevent more instances like this. In City Heights, a neighbor called the city about a fragile 30-foot palm. The city answered within hours and then sent an arborist that deemed it unsafe. Crews then took that tree down.
A lot of the calls are for simple, snapped branches, but some of the calls are for 30-foot queen palms that are leaning a little too much for our liking.
The city says there were nearly 100 Get It Done requests, all for trees. Half were for trees that fell on homes, cars, streets, or power lines. Thankfully, no one got hurt in all of this, but some of those were close calls.
And it wasn't just us. The weather is something much of the country is dealing with, and airlines are already canceling flights. According to FlightAware, airlines canceled more than 1,700 flights in the U.S. today. More than 6,200 were delayed. 10 flights were canceled out of San Diego today, while 192 were delayed. Those did eventually take off. Southwest has 68 of those delayed flights.
For the latest weather alerts right on your phone, download the free CBS 8 app in the App Store or on Google Play.
It's been calm this afternoon, but we know that snow is coming, and we know that a lot of people are working from home. We know that a lot of schools have canceled, and so it is fairly quiet out there across the metro. Thank you so much for joining us here at 4 o'clock for this special hour of winter storm coverage. I'm Kelsey Carlson.
And I'm Randy Meyer. We're starting our Fox 9 coverage early to help keep you ahead of that storm. We have live team coverage across the Twin Cities all night long tonight. So we want to get started.
Yeah, of course, we want to start with our weather team and Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard, who's been tracking this storm. And you have the latest on the timing of how this will all play out.
Yeah, what's important, if you're paying attention on social media, some people are like, we're talking a storm and there's nothing happening. Look, I'll get to that in a minute. Here is storm vision, and these are the things that I need you to look at and say, that's where I am, that's my county. I also know that with a storm like this one, flights are canceled and school is canceled and people aren't going to the office, that there's an awful lot of storm anxiety. So I'm going to march you through this here over the next hour. The purple that includes the metro, a winter storm warning, and notice the red, that's a blizzard warning. Now, the blizzard warning doesn't talk about more snow or heavier snow. It is more about reduced visibility with strong winds blowing and drifting snow. So over the last 6 hours, and there are people saying, everyone's talking about the snow and we don't see it. If you're here in parts of Wright County, Stearns County, Sherburne County, Mille Lacs County, and areas to the north, you haven't seen the snow yet. But if you are down to the south, we have these bands of very heavy snow coming through right now. That's what it looks like in St. Paul. So let's talk a little bit about this. Bands of snow and strong winds starting now, rolling across the region overnight. Commute buster snow Thursday morning with the winter storm and blizzard warnings in place until tomorrow afternoon. Now, you pick everything up, a quick timeline for you. Round 2 intensifies a couple of inches tonight, 4 to 6 overnight, and into tomorrow morning. The snow finally tapers, but the winds stay strong. I want to send things back to Randy and Kelsey. Look, any way you look at it, this is a storm that is here and it is going to intensify. So hunker down. We've got you covered, and we'll give you the information you need to make some plans for the day tomorrow. Call it what it is, a disruptive storm. Any of your regular daily activities, they are going to be disrupted tomorrow.
Well, they are. Let's check in with some of our communities out there. How are they handling the second phase of the winter storm?
Well, for the most part, it seems that Minnesotans are well prepared with winter gear in hand and being careful out there. We're working to get as much information to our viewers as possible as this system moves through into tomorrow.
Let's get started with our Karen Scullin live in Waconia tonight. Karen?
Yeah, well, we are in the blizzard right here. Waconia's in the blizzard warning. It started about 3 o'clock, and I can tell you it was almost right on the top, at the top of 3 o'clock that things started really picking up and whipping up like crazy. Basically, it means instead of just a little bit windy now and then, it's this consistent wind with even higher gusts at times. You can see I'm on the snowbank here, the top layer kind of blowing off, just a light blow, and blowing back onto the roads and the driveways. Everything we pretty much shoveled from last night, that 3 or 4 inches we got overnight. Definitely there is a coating now back on the roads from the blowing snow. You can see in the front yard here, same thing, kind of skimming that front yard, blowing it back onto the road there. Up the hill there, that is downtown Waconia. And actually there are still people out. So it's not like everybody's inside. There's not a lot of people, but things are still open. I know a lot of people have adjusted their hours, whether it be restaurants or grocery stores. I saw McIntoons here closing at 6 o'clock today. So definitely some adjustments, and I think people are probably going to stay in for the night for the most part anyway. If we spin back around here, you can see the flags whipping sideways there. That is Lake Waconia there. And yes, there are some ice houses out there. We have not seen one angler today. Nobody's, I don't think, ice fishing today. And in fact, the bait shop said closed due to weather. So that pretty much sums it up for you. Again, the snow kind of hitting your face, kind of like little pin pricklies all over your face for the most part, and definitely getting colder fast. Right now, we're going to send it to my colleague Paul Bloom for more on this. Paul?
Hey, Karen, good afternoon to you, coming to you from the Minneapolis Sculpture Garden. I thought we might have the park to ourselves today, but there are a couple intrepid tourists taking some photos behind me, dog walking. I have these fantasies of summertime with the family walking through the park. Let's just say we're a little bit far away, a little bit removed from those nice summer days outside here at the Sculpture Garden. It is whipping wind here as I stare towards the camera, and here it comes. You see that snow kind of flying almost sideways. So snow, you mentioned some parts of our viewing area aren't seeing the snow. I can tell you with 100% confirmation it is coming down awfully hard here in the city of Minneapolis. Now, to that point, the city has declared a snow emergency starting tonight, 9 p.m. No surprise there. Certainly officials had suggested that would happen. We were up with a north side plow crew on a city grader. That thing is a beast to plow, but you can see it having to go around the cars that are parked along the side of the road. That's why they want cars out of there just as soon as possible. They want to clear as many lanes as wide as possible. Whether you're behind the wheel of a plow today or pulling on your own snowblower, we've got our hands full from Mother Nature.
We were happy to see that the snow totals, and the forecasted snow totals are a little bit less. Still a significant snow event, 13 to 18 inch range, but hearing that it's not in that 24 inch range anymore was exciting to us. It doesn't change our operations a lot, but less snow is good.
Less snow is good. Certainly talking about what came in last night into today. Obviously, we're expecting bigger totals into tonight, into tomorrow. We'll have all those numbers for you throughout this newscast. One other thing I know you saw in that video there, Hennepin Health, healthcare clinics, they shut down early today, closed at 3 p.m. They're not expected to open up again until noon tomorrow. That's the look here in Minneapolis. Now let's head across the river. My colleague Rob Olson in St. Paul, outside or perhaps inside the XL Energy Center.
Paul, yeah, we are outside as the snow continues to intensify here. It wouldn't be state hockey at any tournament time, I guess, without a big snow event. And here we go. Usually we get it a few weeks later than this, but who knows? It could happen again. But now it's girls high school hockey at the XL Energy Center starting today. And yes, the games go on, albeit with some troubles for fans to get here. Snow started falling outside the X around 1 o'clock today. 8 teams in action today, starting this morning. All 8 teams were in town yesterday for the single A brackets here for girls hockey, including a team from Laverne. Now, they couldn't get here today if they wanted to because I-90's already shut down. In fact, their pet bus and pep band couldn't make it here today. The AA teams start action tomorrow. A lot of those teams are in town already, as are some of their fans. Ran into a couple of grandparents who came here from North Dakota to watch their granddaughter play for Moorhead. That game isn't until tomorrow night, but they knew that they had to get here today if they wanted to get here at all.
We left at 7 o'clock this morning thinking that will be a window to leave and get here before the storm hits.
And you did?
Yep.
And we
Yep.
What do you think now?
I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're here and anxious to see our granddaughter play for the Moorhead Spuds.
Well, you got to wait till tomorrow night?
We'll do that.
Yep.
We'll do that. We'll wait.
They will wait. And again, talking to them and talk to the wife of the Laverne girls coach, you said, they're staying. A lot of them were planning to stay through the weekend anyway, hoping obviously to advance. Laverne lost. They have a consolation game tomorrow at Tria, but planning to stay anyway. Hockey parents, why not hang out in a hotel for a few days and have some fun? But again, knowing that travel, especially tonight and tomorrow and then into Friday, could be obviously very, very difficult. In some cases, again, getting to and from Laverne right now is not even possible. So again, it'll be an interesting weekend here. A lot of other games this weekend is boys hockey, and then swimming and diving have sectional games as well, and some of those are already getting rescheduled. Of course, they got a timeline to get those in, but some of those games are impacted as well as we head through the weekend. Kelsey, Randy, back to you.
All right, thanks, Rob. No traveling to Laverne right now.
Nope,
okay?
We won't get to Laverne if you're trying.
Stay put.
For whatever reason.
We are following traffic very carefully. We're following some developing news right there on the roads tonight.
Let's head out to Amy Hockert at the Fox 9 Live Center for the latest on those roads. Amy, what do you have?
Yeah, hi, Randy and Kelsey. We are keeping an eye on the roads. Of course, that is one of the bigger stories today. The good news is it seems like most people are heeding the warnings and they are staying put. Roads have been pretty empty as we've been watching them now for about the last 2 to 3 hours as those flakes started to fall. We want to take you down, though, to one spot where we're seeing some trouble. This is down in the Faribault area, and we want to show you, let's see, 35 northbound, and I think, Amber, there was something going on here, if I remember right, or maybe it's just that the roads are starting to get really covered here. Drifting snow, and we're starting to see that. I want to show you the MnDOT map right now. This is real time, and we'll pull it up. I'm going to take you down. First of all, you can see sort of that I-94 line where it cuts. Everything above I-94 right now is in the green. You're good to go. Below 94 is where it starts to get a little more dicey. So as you take a look at those lines, the blue is going to show you partially covered roads. The pink is completely covered. And then the purple is where we have no travel advised. And then you see down in the southwest corner, the extreme southwest corner down there by Worthington and in the Marshall area, those are the areas where Laverne, as you just mentioned, where you're not going to be able to travel at all. Those are closed. So as we move closer to, let's take you down to that Faribault area, Owatonna, you're starting to see the roads there turn from blue to pink. So we're going from partially covered to fully covered, and that's where we're starting to see some of the issues. Let's take you up to the metro now and show you what we've been looking at here over the course of the last couple of hours, which has been about a dozen or so incidents and starting to accumulate here probably within the last 30 minutes or so. But if we zoom in on any one of those, Amber, you can pull it up and see that the roads partially covered because of that blue, but we are starting to see reports of spinouts and crashes. So about a dozen here in the metro, but as I've been watching this over the course of the last couple of hours, slowly we've seen more and more pop up. So we know that the conditions are deteriorating there on the roads. We've got crews out there. We're going to bring you those live reports as we get them in. But right now, I guess the message here in the metro is it is deteriorating pretty quickly. So we want to make sure and make sure people know to stay home. We know folks do have to be out in some cases. Just take your time and be very careful. And then you did see those outlying areas out in greater Minnesota where it's closed or the roads are fully covered, and you're going to want to avoid those areas because the visibility there is very low as well. So we'll send it back to you guys. We're going to keep an eye on everything right here, and you come back out to me if I've got something to share with you. Okay?
Sounds good. Thanks, Amy. So come here at 4 o'clock. We are talking with the interim director of Minnesota's Homeland Security Emergency Management.
But first, snowblowers got to work out this morning. Our Fox 9 photographers sending in GoPro video of all of their work at their homes. And yeah, it was a rough start to the morning. Not too bad, though. We'll be right back with the latest on what we'll see for the rest of the day. And welcome back to our special Fox 9 News coverage of this storm. Right now, we're going back outside to see what it looks like as we wait for the heavy snowfall.
Jennifer McDermott's outside. The meteorologist Jennifer is out there. I noticed, but just before I come out here at 4 o'clock, the wind had picked up, Jennifer.
It absolutely has picked up. I can confirm that right now, standing outside, the snow is falling sideways. And this has been really a big part of our forecast, is not just how much snow we are expecting, but the winds picking up today, creating the blizzard-like conditions as we move forward further into tonight and into tomorrow. So not only are we expecting quite a bit of snow, Ian, but the winds are going to be reducing visibility and creating some drifting snow.
Thanks, Jennifer. You know, it's important to realize that Jennifer and I, we played Rochambeau to see who goes outside, and I'm a former playground Rochambeau champion.
Obvious.
Always go paper. Always go paper. Thanks, Jennifer. It's one of those days that you're thinking, my gosh, to be outside. It is going to intensify over the next few hours. I want to start with the big picture because I've said this for the last couple of days. I realize there's a lot of anxiety when it comes to storms like this that cancel schools, that send you home from the office, that make you drive almost white knuckle on roads you drive almost every day. Big picture view, and I want you to look at this almost like it is one T. The bottom of the T is the pipeline of moisture coming uninterrupted right out of the Gulf of Mexico. The top of the T is that moisture slamming into some very cold Arctic air that has started to work its way down out of the north. Embedded in this flow out of the Gulf, a tornado watch in parts of Missouri, soon to work into the Ohio River Valley. But that's the T. We're on the northern side, and now I add the colors. You're like, oh, I see now. All of these colors are winter storm related. Purple are winter storm warnings, blue winter weather advisories, and red blizzard warnings. Interesting to note, once the snow started, we started to talk more and more about the wind. That's a big factor overnight. The difference between a winter storm warning and a blizzard warning is less about snowfall, but more about blowing, drifting snow and reduced visibility over time. The blizzard warning works here just into the west-southwest metro, both in place through the overnight. And the bands of snow have started to arrive, and it will work in banded sections. Heavy snow, large snowflakes, then a little bit of a setback, small ice crystals, then big snow. See where it's white? Bright white right here. Those are the biggest flakes, and people up here in St. Michael all the way to Stearns County and St. Cloud are going, snow? What snow? Patience, my friends, it's coming. There's a live look outside. St. Paul not looking very saintly right now. Reduced visibility down to a half mile at this point. Bands of snow and strong winds. Yep, we've got them again. There it is, the winter storm warning and the blizzard warning. Here we go through the overnight. Now, this doesn't take into effect the snow that already fell. Officially, just over 4 inches at the airport. As we get through tonight, you have this big band of, say, 3 to 5, almost 6. And then through tomorrow afternoon, a few pockets of 12. But this is additional to that 4 that already fell. I think you'll get the idea here. As we work through the overnight and into the day tomorrow, this is all about commute busting snow. There it is once again as it falls through the overnight. I can't stress this enough. For anybody who's saying, well, we're not getting those big numbers everybody talked about on Sunday. We didn't talk about those big numbers. We kept saying, look, it's a foot plus. That's exactly where we're going to be overnight and into the day tomorrow. Commute busting, yes. The snow tapers tomorrow. Then it's all about blowing snow. Then cold, real tough for the road chemicals to work when we're sub-zero Friday. But as we work through the weekend, we're talking high temperatures above freezing, and this will be a thing of the past. So Randy and Kelsey, it's started. It's round 2, and it's, it's here. We'll get through it.
You bet.
All right. Thanks, Ian. We'll be back with you in just a moment. We have watched the last few days as people have been planning ahead, watching the forecast, and the cities have put their plans into place. The National Guard is mobilized too, and state emergency officials are urging people to stay off the roads until this snow subsides.
We're joined now by Interim Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, Kevin Reed. Kevin, first of all, thanks for joining us. What is Homeland Security's role in dangerous weather conditions like we're seeing the last couple days?
Good afternoon. Our role is really to provide preparedness information both to the citizens and the counties and tribal nations within Minnesota. Try to give them as much information as they can, and then work with them on what potential resources or needs they may have throughout the storm.
And you were part of that big news conference yesterday to educate Minnesotans, to help people, just start to get prepared and to plan ahead. So one wave is down, and we have the second wave to go tonight. What is your messaging from a state and national level here right now as we prepare for the overnight hours?
First of all, I want to thank everybody that heeded some of the warnings that said, hey, if you don't have to go somewhere, please don't. I think that's made a big difference in this. And the second is, as Ian said, we're in a lull right now. Don't get too overconfident and then get stuck in what's going to come later. So if you have to go out, or if you're coming back from work because you had to go to work, just be prepared, take it slow, and let somebody know where you're traveling. It's always good to let someone know so that they can expect you at a certain time. And if you don't show up, they can try to help the responders locate if something happens. But have your equipment in your car if you need it, and just go slow and be aware of the conditions.
We will heed that advice, Kevin. Thank you. Kevin Reed, Interim Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Thanks for joining us this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, well, another weather wave. Second one is on its way. Some parts are hitting already, coast to coast, in fact. People are watching this all over the country.
I know. If you had to fly into Minnesota for a conference or
Yes.
something like that, you're watching to see what's happening at the airport, too. Still ahead, we check in with Fox Weather's Max Gordon live in Minneapolis tonight. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
It is starting to get nasty out there. This is the skyline of Minneapolis. The winds picked up about an hour and a half ago. The snow started falling. This is phase 2 of a high-impact multi-day storm. And Ian has totals. I'll give you those in just a few minutes. But this is the beginning of what's going to take place over the next few hours. And there's national interest in this major storm as well.
Yeah, Fox Weather's Max Gordon joining us from downtown Minneapolis tonight. So, Max, welcome to town. What have you been seeing as you've been out and about?
Well, you know, what I've really noticed has been how many people are out and about. You know, we've been seeing joggers, runners, dog walkers today, just really sort of enjoying the lull in the storm and really just getting about in these low temperatures. You know, it always strikes me how hardy folks here in, in Minnesota and in Minneapolis are. And, now we're starting to see this second wave move through. This is kind of what conditions are looking like downtown. The streets aren't looking too bad. You Minnesotans, you know how to drive in the snow. But of course, the message from officials is if you can stay home, really do that. Don't get out and about, especially with those no travel advisories. But you mentioned the national interest. Well, of course, I'm here with Fox Weather, but the hotel that we're staying at has a bunch of news crews in it as well. So we have this setup. It's not ours. We've got something very less extensive. It's just me and my photographer, Lloyd, and we're with a microphone and a camera, and we're out here in the snow. But we've seen news crews all around town, and it is pretty interesting to see the national media descend on a place, and especially if it's a place you call home, it's kind of a weird feeling. Of course, MSP, Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, experiencing a whole lot of flight delays. Yesterday, we got in just a little bit under the wire just before all the snow moved in, but we'll see if we can get out. So, fingers crossed we can, eventually. Guys,
all right,
back
well,
to
if you get stuck here, come on over here to the studios. We'll have some pizza before you guys leave town, okay?
We have snacks today, Max.
Snacks. I love that. Sounds good.
All right, tell Lloyd to be careful, too.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys. Well, because Minnesota Governor Tim Walz declared a peacetime emergency, the National Guard has been mobilized to respond to emergencies. And we're going to talk with the National Guard coming up next.
Plus, we check back in with the Fox 9 weather team. Ian Leonard heading that one. Winter storm coverage continues right here at 4 o'clock. Straight ahead.
All right, welcome back to our special coverage of this winter storm. We're going to take a look outside. Quiet roads out there tonight. A lot of people have already just gotten their groceries.
Wisely.
They're home from work and school, and they're just staying inside tonight. This is 35 northbound in Northfield, and it is a quiet 4:30 in the evening, and that's what the roads look like right now.
It's wild.
It's almost like our weather team, Fox 9 weather team, has been preparing for this for a couple days, warning people.
Yeah.
And look at what's happened. Right?
I think we did good. I think we did great. And you know, school's closed today. We had that lull. And I said last night, when we get into the lull, people are going to be like, wait a minute, the storm ended early. And
I've heard that from a few people today, yes.
Right? I mean, what happened to the storm? I said, look, mid-morning to mid-afternoon, the storm is gone. And then it comes back with a vengeance and intensifies. And that's where we are right now. Here's what we're dealing with. Winter.
Cold